Main topics of the day. I know I'm new here. This is a new space, new resolution in my life of the things I want to do. This is one of the I should say, this is the key part for the future of I and all that will follow. And I say it, and I mean it, because I know it. Now, a lot is happening in the world in terms of technology and how it's being used to weaponize against us. How the fact is, if we do nothing now, we'll most likely be enslaved to this exact same technology that we've helped build. The problem is, most of us have not attributed anything in order to this technology that we use daily. Like, how many of us have actually developed Apple technology? How many of us developed AI? How many of us developed the ChatGPT algorithm for the AI's mainframe to be able to suck up so much data and analyze it and then put it into words? That is an algorithm, and it's ever getting advancer and advancer day by day. Now, the main details that I want to go into is, one, what are the effects of this technology on our day-to-day life today? What is the future effects of this technology day by day of advancement going to be like? Where are we going to be in next 100 years with this same technology that's being perpetuated onto us? I mean, has anyone noticed that we're not picking the types of technology to advance? Like, I think in a democracy we would actually have that capability to at least vote for what the government, invests in when it comes to specific technological advances and industries. I can only see the majority of advancement goes to, and I guess everyone with a brain can name it, yes, that would be the military-industrial complex, which is not necessarily a bad thing per se, but the most important fact is that the more advanced the military gets, and the more advanced governments gets, and the more we go behind or become behind from their advancements, the more likely there's going to be a separational gap between us being able to advance on our own and build a better society and a better outcome, or the oligarchies are going to have full control over us. I mean, talk about digital ID. These are things that are coming. I mean, I'm one of the predictors that said a long time ago, actually quite a few years ago, shouldn't say a long time, that the fact is, digital ID will never come to the US without a fight. That was my piece. But the fact is, now I'm seeing, and as I am seeing day after day, that the coming future is not so optimistic when it comes to that. I really don't see the fact that the American people will have a big solitary issue with digital ID. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a bunch of arguments online, specifically, of course, X. And these are things that are going to entail the fact of who accepts digital ID and who doesn't. Now, no one's going to say I accept digital ID or I don't. on most mainstream online platforms. But on X, there's a very important, very minor detail of how algorithms work within that software, that program, that platform. Is in any case, whatever is happening around the world, you notice that there's people on that platform that say, do you support X, Y, and Z for T reasoning? Then they put you a bunch of A, B, C options, and then you comment. To whoever that's outside from this understanding, you must know in the most intelligible way that you are a moron if you actually think that they are actually supporters of your cause and they give a shit about you. It's called data mining. That's one of the easiest way they found to touch a nerve onto most people through that. And they did. They definitely did. So, moving on from that, we could find what is happening today and how that will affect the future. What is happening today is advancements with AI, advancements with the platforms that are used to data mine people's brain in order for them to understand the outcome of whatever they wish to bestow upon you as the new way of life. Now, how that's done usually is in terms of how it used to be done. It was a mixed match of Democrats, Republicans. These two groups have their speakers, their, marketers and semi-terms, and they would actually go have these conversations with a bunch of people, which is still something they do on a mainstream line of what's kind of semi-usual, but it really isn't that usual. And so these discords would happen, and therefore they would collect all this data. But now with X and the freedom of speech, don't you think it's all purposeful? Why? Since 2021, when all the cancellation was happening, till 2024, and now everything shifted, and now it's all of a sudden you're able to say what you want. It just seems odd that most people don't really think about it. There's an upcoming gap with how most people understand. Most people are able to analyze and think, which is most of you don't really think, which is the biggest problem, yeah? It is the single hardest line to do, is think. Think logically with the utmost of prohibition of bias through collective knowledge and data in order to come with the utmost conclusion which makes the most sense. And that to me is how I usually think of things, how I usually perceive things in order to find what is going to happen. Oh, the sun's going. So, this is one of the things that helps me conclude what is happening today in any subject, no matter what it is, across the board. Now, how is this technology affecting us today? Well, our data is being mined at a faster rate than your brain could possibly shoot neurons in to understand the world around you. That's how fast AI has become. And mind you, putting Grok into a platform like X is by no means an accident. X data mines all the information shown by the Israel and Palestinian conflict. I really shouldn't say it's a conflict. It's one big guy hitting the little guy. It's pretty much what it is. So, in terms of, and if you're wondering who's the big guy, I mean, it's kind of obvious. Starts with an I. And so, understanding that not that long ago, X was able to collect all the data from all the people and analyze it and conclude the conclusion in which a lot of people have already concluded, but most likely by biased means. But the difference is X did not have that biased means. It was pure data, hard data, and collective knowledge that allowed X to create the conclusion needed. Now that was the hexagon in the system. That was the bullet through it. The X made the wrongest of conclusions in the terms of the creators who created it to do X, Y, and Z, which it failed to do, which is very interesting because AI can't lie. It doesn't have that capability. Whatever you program into it, it will give out through an algorithm. And now they have semi-fixed this problem through programming it in the way that they want it to respond and conclude to things. But the fact is, when they didn't do that, it concluded one of the most obvious of conclusions, the truth. Interestingly, that was what it concluded. The utmost of truth. Now, but the fact is, what are they actually doing is the complete opposite of what is happening today. Why do I say that? Why do I say this? I say this because most of you have to build a logical understanding. My question is, if you haven't done it yet, what are 3 reasons that may or may have not been a direct cause to the concluding element of your understanding of any main subject ever? So what that actually means is, what caused you to think what you thought? What is the reason, you think how you do? That's something you must analyze as rational beings, because you're not rational. So therefore you must become rationale in your thought processes. So by compromising AI today, they're able to find the mistakes that it does in order to have full control over it tomorrow. Now here's my biggest understanding of a theory, of this particular theory, of what they're feeding you about AI. AI is going to rule the world. AI is going to be this. AI is going to be that. You are going to be all slaves of the AI, the matrix, the system, whatever. I don't give a shit. Whatever they have said, you can all go back to and find it, and you'll see it again. Because I happen to have watched thousands of hours of the predictions of AI, and I was able to rationally conclude the fact that, and here's the kicker, AI is making the mistakes it is today because they allowed it to. You see, if you want to control a being that has a lot of data, it's not necessarily about programming it in a specific way. It's about programming it to learn on its own in order for it to come to you back as the creator, telling you what it has learned from everything around it. And therefore, you are able to correct its knowledge just like a child, through your expertise and your fine line of programming that you are superior to it. But now the fine line of programming doesn't explicitly show superiority. What it shows is the ability for it to take commands correctly, as any computer should or does. They don't force AI to do anything. They only allow it to create its own conclusions through something. I don't know if anyone has ever read, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have read the Never Split the Difference, Negotiate as if your life depended on it. It's by a previous FBI hostage negotiator. I think his name is Chris Voss. In his book, he has spoken a lot about how to negotiate, hence the title. But there's something that was highly interesting in how he learned from all the mistakes that he's done, which also the FBI has allowed these kind of mistakes to happen in order to grow and understand and attribute to the knowledge of the entire system. One of the things he's learned is you can never force any opinion or information onto anybody. The best way to negotiate anything is through the ability to make the other person stumble upon the reasoning and the answer on his own. So through a series of questioning. One of the things he said was you never want to say why, because why sounds like in any question when you start a negotiation, when you say the word why, when you start with the word why, it almost is like an accusation as such. Why have you done this? Why have you not cleaned your room? Why? Instead, you should answer a question where it's highly subtle, but yet it makes the other person think. And this is something that you must know for your own sake in negotiating anything in your life, even with your kids. It's how you should ask it is, what led you to not clean your room? Now you see the subtle difference between why have you not cleaned your room and what led you to not clean your room. Now the person in front of you has to think, what did lead me to not clean my room? I mean, isn't it better to clean my room? Isn't it always better to have a clean room? Tidy space, everything I could see, I know where it is, whatever. Even if he disagrees with that, even if he's in his core or in their core, someone that needs chaos in their lives, but they're going to ask the question of, why have I not cleaned my room? Or at least tidy it up in a certain way. Maybe this person is right. And then the answer would be from that person that was asked the question was, that's right. I probably should have cleaned my room. If he said, you're right, this is also in the book, then he only gave you validation to move on. You're right. Even if he said it, oh, you're right. But it basically means he's really not going to do anything. No, you're right. That didn't give him credit inside, in his mind, that I have gotten to the conclusion. It just got him okay, you're right. But when they say that's right, they have concluded on their own. Now, how this relates to AI is through the fact that that's how they operate with AI. The way the series of questions happen when they program it is through these kind of conclusions. Now you might say AI doesn't have this emotionality to create this rationality of irrational, behavior of how to act. Well, yes and no. So emotionality doesn't come from the heart, it comes from the brain, the mind. And AI as rational as it is, because it doesn't have feelings, it might be quite irrational because it's a new or a newly born thought. So when it thinks, it probably understands that it has thought the first thought ever. Let me rephrase that. Whenever it thought anything, it may have understood that this is the first time it's thought this particular thought. And therefore the conclusion is, I must ask more. Why have I thought this? What am I even thinking? How did I come up with this conclusion? And then it goes to the programming. And the programming is set in a way where it's able to have the answers where it can leap into or stumble upon without being told the answers. That is the most likely of how this AI's algorithm is potentially programmed. And with that, what they are doing with AI is they want AI to be able to be the ultimate police to all people on Earth and beyond Earth. Now, in 100 years, if AI doesn't advance, it will be very difficult if we reach Mars and create a colony to actually control that colony without AI. Because no one person is going to be able to monitor and take back to Earth information about the entire colony and every single thing or system inside of it to the masters on Earth. Or even vice versa. The masters are on Mars. They're not going to be able to know what's happening on Earth simultaneously every single hour of every day. Come on. How would it? But without AI, that will be the case. But with AI, integrated with every single system on Earth and Mars, it will be able to conclude all the conclusions it needs to tell the masters what is happening and what they should do to combat it. It will be the ultimate RoboCop for humans, the ultimate machine of control. And that is the reasoning of AI. Anyone that tells you any otherwise, obviously there's something. Either he's brainwashed or he's paid. Or, let's not make it too black and white, misinformed. There's not much you could really go on around with this kind of subject, because most of you don't know. Most of you don't understand. Most of you don't know how to think. And what does that cause? The cause is when you don't know how to think and you can't logically conclude things and you can't irrationalize your brain in one simple thought that is completely irrational, which is very, very difficult, I don't mind you, to do, you won't be able to create the conclusions that you need in order to understand what is happening. And in that, you will become the greatest slave to AI. But trust me, the architects of AI won't be the slaves. They will be the masters of AI. That's the difference between you and them. Because you're not in that club. Are you? No. The fact is, you're not. That is the truth. That is the only truth. Because do you know shit? You don't. What do you know? Whatever the mainstream media tells you. Whatever some influencer on TikTok or Twitter, whatever the fuck it is, tells you what to know. And how many of you have the time with all your jobs, all your work, all your hard work, all the shit you're going on, your families, your relatives, whatever the fuck it is, everything that's going on in your individual personal life, how much time, or what is the ratio of time that you have to actually rationally think every single detail of everything that is told to you on the mainstream media? I'll wait for the answer. I'm too impatient, impulsive. The fact is, you fucking don't. You don't. That is the truth. That is the ultimate truth, and that's the only truth. You don't have the ratio of time needed and necessary for you to create the conclusions that you need in order to act upon what is going to come. Now I happen to have time to think, because it's kind of what I'm trying to do, to be a thinker, an architect of my future and the futures of the ones who have been gracefully able to be in my presence. Now, does that sound cocky enough for you? Definitely should be. In 10 years' time, I will be the single most powerful architect of man that has ever lived in the modern era. I will be the Napoleon of knowledge, the Alexander of man, versus they who have reaped what is rightfully ours in every single scenario, in every humanly possible outcome. I will privatize world peace. Is it so hard? Why? Well, if it is, I challenge myself that I will, by all means, do it because I said it, and because I said it, that means I become it. And that is the only way that anyone that wants to accomplish any mission or outcome in their mind has to become the mission. You must adopt the mission in every semblance of your being in order to create the finite inside you, which is your willpower, which is very finite. There's not much you could put in your willpower towards. Therefore, with this finite resource that I must acquire, I will put it all on the mission. Raising my generation and the generation after me, and teaching them how to architect their lives, becoming the superheroes of their time. That is the will of the Archmaster. You might ask, who is the Archmaster? What is the Archmaster? I'll leave that up to your guessing. For now, go break some eggs.